Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Jillian King, and I'm excited to introduce you all to the Spring 2024 FBA Family Business Panel discussion, revealing the secrets to family business success, building your great family business in 2024. In this panel, we will be exploring a range of topics to help you build your great family business. This episode is part 1 of 3, and all of these discussions are intended to be highly relevant to family businesses, but also to entrepreneurs of all types. So be sure to follow Radio Entrepreneurs on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, or any of the many other platforms we stream on to catch each of the other segments as they go live. Before we get into the discussion, allow me to introduce our panelists. Today, we have 2 returning panelists that you should know well. Stephen Wilchins, founding partner at Wilchins, Cosentino and Novins, and Richard Hirschen, partner at Gray Gray. Welcome. Glad you can be with us today. Next, I'm excited to introduce our guest panelists. Kristen Burke, Chief Growth Officer of Burke Distributing Corporation, Sandy Davis, President of HRG Development and formerly President of Pioneer Consolidated, and Michael Nowak, President of Redemption Plus. Finally, I would like to introduce the panel's moderator, Radio Entrepreneurs host, and CEO of Mage LLC, Jeffrey Davis. Welcome, Jeffrey. I will now hand the conversation over to you.
Well, thank you, Jillian. We appreciate the work that you do on behalf of the family businesses of Massachusetts and all of New England. And welcome again to our esteemed panelists. And I like the theme for 2024. The theme for our listeners is going to be learning from family businesses how to continue the success of family businesses. And I think during this time, understanding how different organizations manage their way toward success is very important. So let me start off, and it is a free-for-all. This is like a jump ball for all those family businesses. Do you think your family business had a secret sauce that started and seeded the success of your family business?
I can jump in for that one. Yeah, and it's not treating it like a family business. And so what I mean by that is in my business, it's my father, myself, and my uncle. And one, we don't act like family at all in the office. And two, there's 220 some odd employees, and they have families. So there's a lot of mouths to feed. So at the end of the day, it's about them. And so keeping that first and foremost really helps keep us grounded, about why we're there, and what our mission is. So it's much bigger than the 3 of us.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I always say it's the response. If your name's on the door, it's the responsibility. It's not a right. It's a burden more than anything. And treating it as such is critical. So I couldn't agree more with you, Michael.
Michael, are you the second generation in the business? Did your uncle and father found the company?
So my father founded it. And my story is a little different. So I'll take couple seconds to go over it. So
good idea.
My father founded a company called Rhode Island Novelty, which is different than the company I was introduced under. And he started it. He's the whoopee cushion guy. He was a balloon peddler. So if you go to any of the parades and you see people pushing the shopping carts with all the toys, that was my father. So grew a business into 21 different industries, 10,000 different products, 650,000 square foot operation in Fall River, Massachusetts. My uncle does the product buying with the team. I came into the business, worked there my whole entire life. After college, didn't want to get into it. He didn't want me to get into it, despite having every job. Worked on Wall Street for a little bit, consulting. Then wanted to come back into business. He told me no. Long story short, 4 months of negotiation. He says, I can't afford you at your consulting salary, so you got to take a 50% pay cut. And that's how it started. Now, fast forward into 2020, I was able to purchase a competitor. I was, reading the tea leaves when the world was coming to an end, And so I approached my father and said, hey, listen, I would like to do this deal. Is this okay? So we worked out some agreement. We consolidated all the fulfillment. So I was able to, in a way, break away a little bit. But I'm still very much involved into the shipping logistics part of the bigger business.
You know, Rich, I think you did the right thing. Kristen, can you give a little background on Burke and its history?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So Burke was founded in 1935. We're coming up on our 90th anniversary. We're a beer, wine, and spirits wholesaler. My great-grandfather started it. He was a grocer in Clinton, Massachusetts. And when Prohibition lifted, saw an opportunity and got involved into the beer business. My dad now runs the company. I'm the fourth generation. We basically service Metro Boston for beer. We also go down into Bristol County now, and then we do the state for wine and spirits. So my personal background, I always knew I wanted to be in the family business. I'm the youngest of four girls. But I left the nest and I went and worked for Boston Beer for a few years out in Los Angeles before coming back to Burke. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing before we go to Sandy on that question. As you enter Burke, you see a letter, which is one of my favorite letters from one of Boston's most prestigious law firms, a senior partner to, I don't know if it was your grandfather, telling him that he should not go into the business, that it was not a viable option.
Yeah, it was to my great grandfather. It was for a loan. And he said, I forget the exact language, but it was something of, you have more luck, speaking to God than getting a loan in this business being successful, was effectively the nature of the letter. So we have it framed as a nice reminder.
Well, and when I saw the letter, I took a picture of it and sent it to one of the senior partners of that law firm today. And I wrote him and I said, I guess you guys aren't always right. Sandy, can you tell your story?
I can. My story is a little bit different, as my father always wanted me to join him in his businesses, but I had my own career path that I wanted to go, and I didn't end up joining and running the businesses, unfortunately, until he had passed away. And he was a serial entrepreneur. He had irons in all the fires. He was always a step ahead of what was happening in the economy, and he was very interested in different inventions. And Pioneer Consolidated, which was known as Pioneer Coverall, was a brainchild of his when he was driving, looking at property, which is how he founded HRG Development. He saw that there was debris flying from the backs of trucks. And he said, this is going to be a problem for the environment. And he went and he found an engineer, and he created the first Pioneer Coverall, which turned into, I think we had somewhere in the vicinity of 30 patents. And we had hydraulic arms that we were the first to have that, which we ended up having a refuse and construction division, which became nationally the largest in the industry by the time I actually sold the business after being in there for several years. So in HRG Development, as he was, driving around the countryside, he did land banking. He would like to pick pieces of property out, and bought a lot of farmland in Western Massachusetts. He did housing development. And those were the two main businesses. He had several of those under his belt over the years, but those are the ones that I have been involved in.
So the next question for any of you again, and last time was a slow jump ball. We'll see how fast we can get you on here again, is how have you or any of the family members adapted to the business over time? Because I assume with the longevity that all three of you have had in your business, you've had to adapt. And I think that's an important part of for our listeners to understand how you adapt, because that's something they're going to have to do.
Yeah, I'm happy to start with this one. So in the 80s and 90s, we were selling almost 10 million cases of Miller Lite. We had 32 SKUs. Now we have thousands of them. And so when we lost Miller Lite, or the rights to Miller Brewing Company, we had to completely diversify. That was right when my father took over the company, and he looked at it as an opportunity to look at the industry completely differently. So he completely diversified the entire portfolio. We also started to get into wine and spirits. We got into NAs with Red Bull. And now we represent 54 different beer suppliers. At the time, we represented maybe 5. And through that, we're able to weather so much more market turbulence because we have such a diverse portfolio that allows us to be relevant everywhere. So for us, it's just continually to look into the market and find opportunity.
Kristen, does the regulation of your industry prevent you from growing in any way?
Interesting question. Yes and no. There's obviously a lot more federal compliance within what we do. There's monopoly rules, so we could never represent Anheuser-Busch because we're a Molson Coors house. But beyond that, I think there's a lot of opportunity as long as you're just complying. So no, 90%, 10%, yes.
For us, God, I feel like we're always trying to evolve. So when I came into business, we were predominantly, and we still are, US dominated. But I saw an opportunity in the Middle East. So I've been traveling to the Middle East for over 12 years now. So we've expanded into the UAE, to Saudi Arabia, to Oman, to Bahrain, and Pakistan. So it's a huge growth opportunity for us as those economies come online. They're trying to diversify away from oil. So they get into entertainment and leisure to bring in the tourism. So that's one area which we've grown into. The other one was in e-commerce, is just having a way better website, way better platform, having new technology. So, one such technology that I spearheaded is the ability we're B2B. So I'm selling to other business owners, and in one particular market, it's the family entertainment business. So arcades, think of like Dave and Buster. So a lot of those facilities don't want to spend hours going onto my site and ordering. They usually order a couple hundred items. So instead, what they can do is we can pull in the data from their inventory reports with par values and pretty much generate a recommendation for what they should order. So these new technologies to make our customers' job easier, so we can kind of partner with them and make them more profitable, has been a big pivot for us.
So how does that impact your business though, Michael? With regards to, by you splintering away, does that give you an opportunity to grow your own business? Is there ultimately going to combine your business, or you don't want to?
Yeah. No. I can totally comment. So my particular business, Redemption Plus, is it's no longer really a competitor. So in the redemption market is what we call it. So arcade market, family entertainment centers like the Dave and Buster's. There's a couple of different groups of customers. There's the customers that need a lot of hand-holding. They want a lot of technology, and they want somebody to partner with. And that's where I come in. There's another part of the market that wants to do it themselves, and they're price sensitive, so they care about the best pricing, biggest selection, trendiest items, and that's it. And that's where my family company comes in.
So did you have to? I guess you had to prove yourself with your dad and your uncle, right, to be accepted, because your company, your redemption company, it seems like it's being accepted by your father and your uncle.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, we either want the customer to come to one of our companies and not go to the competitor.
All right, Sandy, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. When I took over Pioneer Consolidated Corporation, as I said before, my father unfortunately passed away quite young of cancer, and he had put in place three trustees, my mother being one, but she was not really active in the business at the time, The other two were an attorney and a CPA. And there was a CEO in place that had been with the company for many, many years. But the problem was that his attitude was, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And the company was very profitable with a very good bottom line. And he really wasn't an innovator. So when I came in and family and the trustees decided to bring me in for change, we really revamped the entire company from the top to the bottom. When I got in there and really saw how stagnating the systems were, and we had a lead salesperson who was just chomping at the bit to have more of a staff. He wanted to be able to go to the rest of the country and have other salespeople to work with. We had hundreds of distributors that had been set up, and I luckily had a wonderful group of consultants that worked with me, because this industry was quite new. I had never run manufacturing. I was in the hospitality industry. I owned restaurants. So, when we took a look at the entire operation, we ended up changing staffing, changing accounting people, hiring, several different managers for different regions of the country, and completely redid the financial system, which was huge. So it was a big push, but it was definitely the right thing to do. It was hard, and it was hard convincing the trustees and some of the old time employees to make these changes. But we ended up doubling the company by the time we were finished, and so it was a success.
So Sandy, you raised some interesting things with your success. One is, why did you wait so long? And if you look back now, would you have played it the same way? And the second question I have is, what role did mom play as trustee, and how did that play out for you?
I'll start with mom's role. Mom was a complete support system to me. She really, she'd worked by my dad's side over the years, but her background really was more in social services. So she was a great counselor, but business-wise, she stepped back. And even though she was aware of what was happening, she was really kind of a silent trustee. The problem with the other two trustees is they thought they really knew more about the business than they did. They were always getting reports from the former CEO, and unfortunately, he wasn't really forthcoming with what was really happening, within the business. He would give them financial statements, which were all very positive, and they would just go away. When I had been on the board of directors, and there was a little dissension, truthfully, with the existing CEO. I know he was intimidated by myself and my husband, having, a lot of business, background. And, when I came in, he left. So I was left trying to, not have anyone really training me. And that's why, again, the consultants came in so handy. That's why it took so long. I was kind of pushed on the outside, and, my family, my husband, myself, I pushed to get in the door. So yes, it would have been nice if it had been sooner, but better late than never. And again, I think the timing was actually quite good, because at the amount of years that we were able to turn the business around, the timing for selling the business was just perfect. And truthfully, it was time for me. So
well,
I
Steve,
hope I answered your question.
Steve, I'll just add a little bit of color to that.
Are you the husband?
I wanted to let him say that.
Today I am. Have been up to this date. No one wanted Sandy running the business. And there was probably a 2-year plan of working and talking with senior executives underneath the president to empower them to make the push for Sandy, because Sandy herself and her mother could not make the push. So it had to come from the inside so that it became the idea of the trustees who then approached Sandy. So,
Good.
you know, no business is perfect. I've never seen one, at least not in my career. And tell us a little bit about some of the mistakes that you think other family business owners should be aware of. Mistakes that maybe you made or your family made.
I could start with that one. Don't wait too long to make change. If you really believe that it's a positive and your instincts tell you that you should be going in a different direction or making changes with longtime employees, take the plunge, get help from good advisors to help you with the process. But I highly recommend it's better not to wait. And again, trust your instincts and push forward to make change.
And Sandy, you would feel that way if it was your sister or brother as to make the change as well?
I think that the success of the family business is so important. I would not say that you should overlook the feelings or placement of other members. I did not have that experience. It was just me. And my mother was totally supportive. I have a sister, she was as well, but she had no involvement and no interest. So I was lucky on that front. We did have employees that had been with the company and with my father for 30 years, 40, and a couple of them did need to be replaced. But we were very sensitive to it. They were also getting older. We gave great severance packages and, you know, worked it so that they were comfortable with the transition.
We're going to invite our producer back on, Jillian King. We're getting to the end of this segment, and I want to explain to our listeners before she does again that you see it's been quite lively. We got through 3 or 4 questions quite quickly, that we will have 2 more segments that will continue to address some of these issues of family businesses leading their way and their pathway to success. Welcome back, Jillian.
Thank you, Jeffrey. That wraps up part 1 of this spring 2024 edition of the FBA Family Business Panel discussion. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers who have tuned in for this first segment on Radio Entrepreneurs. Links will be provided in the video's description below to parts 2 and 3 of this discussion to hear more on these topics. So be sure to check out those links and click subscribe just below the video if you're on YouTube, or follow if you're listening on one of our podcast platforms to stay up to date on all our postings as they go live. If you're a fan of our videos, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and press the bell button. It helps immensely. Radio Entrepreneurs is also active on LinkedIn, so be sure to follow our page there as well for more business advice and discussions. Until next time, goodbye and thanks for listening. We'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.